Hey, man.
Oh, nothing much.
God, I hate it when you do that.
Well, I do too.
Have you ever heard of DashCon?
DashCon?
DashCon.
You're just saying dash cam wrong?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
That is 100%.
Have you ever heard of DashCam?
All of my TikTok is just dash cam car accidents. I don't know how I got on that. But they are progressively worse. It started with like, little bumper things and people have been like, oh, and now it's like full on, like pretty bad accidents, Like, I don't want to watch this stuff. That, or I started getting my pilot's license and then all of a sudden it was just footage of plane crashes.
Oh, yikes. They're like, you fly a lot.
They're like, hey, you fly. Well, and like, yeah, not even small planes, like all the airline incidents. It's like the Microsoft Flight Simulator, like they're recreating.
Oh, recreating the crash. Yeah.
It's terrible.
It's like, why is this what you want to do with your free time?
You spent 3 hours making this video.
Making this crash. You spent 3 hours flying to the location where this crash happened, just in anticipation.
Just
what
do you, say that again. What?
In anticipation.
Like they flew there.
Well, they had to, because if they're in Microsoft Flight Simulator, you can't just spawn at some random point. You have to take off. Fly. So they took the 3-hour trip to where that crash happened.
You can't just choose which airport you start at?
I mean, you can, I guess. I guess you could choose a closer airport. That's true. You could choose a closer airport.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking. It's simulator. You think they're like, no, you have to start at this. He's like, well, where am I supposed to set up my grain booth?
I'm trying to sell this grain.
I got 6 trailers outside. I got a grain train in the parking lot. You gotta write it down. It's funny.
And it's like, oh yeah, they are not qualified to run this conference.
Things I learned last night.
Have we ever told the story about the time I raced your flight on this podcast?
No, I think we told the story about the time you tried to hijack my flight. That was interesting. We were on the same Southwest Airlines flight, and Tim's not allowed to fly anymore. That's why he uses Flight Simulator.
I popped in, and you're like, what are you doing on this
He
plane?
was in my carry-on. I was like, how did you get in there? And he was like, I'm taking over. I
was like, oh, it's a stick-up.
It's a stick. No, I did fly to Atlanta once, and you were like, "What time is your flight leaving?" You were texting me like 12 times. You're like, "What time do you guys leave? Okay, what kind of plane are you in?" I was like, Southwest, 737, I guess. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna race you. I was like, okay.
I was like, text me when you start taxiing, and we raced, and you beat me by about 20 minutes.
Dude, Southwest pilots beat you by
fast.
20 minutes.
They're
I
fast.
didn't do anything. I sat there.
I also crashed on the landing, and your pilots landed, right?
Whoa.
It was raining that day. I hadn't done a rain landing yet. That was my first rain landing. It was also my first IFR landing.
Nice.
I'd been doing a lot of VFR flights.
Did you post the video on TikTok? Because I might have seen it.
Okay, let me tell you about DashCon.
Okay.
Maybe this is the benefit of what we're doing right now, because I haven't had a chance for my day to start, so we're shooting this early in the morning right now, which we've never done. We've done some late nights.
Yeah, 11:30 a.m. Pretty early, Tim just woke up.
But like my brain isn't confused yet, so I think right now, like it's good. Every day around noon, my brain just is like, what's happening?
Bro, every day. I have that at 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. My brain is just like, we're done.
It is true, yeah, because it's all the carbs in lunch, right?
Well, I haven't had carbs in 8 years, so I don't know.
Oh, that's fair. Okay, so before we get going, this was recommended by a couple patrons, actually. 2 different patrons had recommended this. And both of them, when they recommended it, a bunch of other patrons were like, oh yeah, we need to do this. Oh. And so those 2 are Bodala was first, Treg came in second, and then Bodala came back and was like, oh, I second this, but I also first did this.
I first did that. That's what your dad did with pillow pets. I first did that. So, okay, DashCon. It's a conference, I'm guessing.
Yes. No.
Okay.
No. Well, it's a con.
Is it though?
No. Well, kind of actually. Yeah. Actually, it's both. There's a Venn diagram.
It's a convention.
It's a convention, and it was a big old con. Chicago, Illinois.
You can't even fault the people who put it together. They're like, guys, Con is in the name.
It's in the name. What did you expect?
Yeah. What did you expect when a friend gave you a card and was like, can you keep a secret? And you're like, yeah, you know what? This is going to be totally legal and legit.
Oh my gosh. So we need to start at the birth of DashCon.
Okay.
So there was a movement called Tumblr. I don't know if you've heard of it. But in the early days of Tumblr was a different world than
So
what
are we talking
it
like
turned
2007?
into. Like 2010s-ish, early 2010s.
Okay.
In the early days, it was different than what it is now.
Is it now? Is it still now? Is what I'm saying.
I'm pretty sure
You're like, it's different than it is now. I thought it died.
I'm pretty sure it's still around.
I thought Tumblr and Vine were casualties of 2014.
No, yeah, they're still around. I mean, they definitely were casualties of 2014. But what it is now is it's kind of almost like a 4chan now. Like it's just a mess.
Just
an absolute
lawless
mess.
land of internet.
But in its early days, it was like your stereotypical social media platform. But for some reason, and I don't really know exactly what about it made this happen.
Yeah.
But in those early days, it was a place where if you really liked something, Tumblr was where you went to talk about it all the time and find other people who also really liked that
I
thing.
never got into Tumblr. All I think of it is like the Tumblr girls, right? That became a stereotype thing.
Yeah.
And it's like those emo kids.
Yeah.
And
The
RAR.
Yes. The pop punk subculture was thriving on Tumblr. Honestly,
Yeah.
I would say, because there was kind of like your first wave
You know
pop
what I
punk.
think about a lot?
What?
I think about this a lot. Like I know I say that about a lot of things, but this is probably one that consumes me a lot. Is like the romance on a rocket ship guy. You know, Roar.
Romance on a rocket ship? I have never heard
on a
of it.
rocket ship.
Yeah.
Like was a musician for those weird kids.
Okay, I've never heard of that.
Or like like that scene, kind of like they had the checkered belt.
Yeah.
And they wore it not in the belt loops. Just,
yeah. You just
put it over your torso.
hip and hope it doesn't slide off.
Yeah. And like always wear the Converse and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It made sense to me that like 13 and 14-year-olds were doing that. But they were doing that emulating the grown adults doing
The
it.
30-year-olds.
That's what I'm saying. Like, are you with me now?
Yeah.
There was Romance on a Rocket Ship. If you spell it out, Roar was this dude's band's name. And he's like 30 making music.
Is
and it's
that
like,
where the Roar thing came from?
No, you're thinking RAR, which is RAWR, which is a little dinosaur drawing kind of thing. Where this is like deep Tumblr dive right now.
Yeah. I didn't know you knew this much about this.
I only know this much about this because there were plenty of them at my high school.
Yeah.
And so, and like, not that they were weird kids. Hey, if you're into it, you're into it. I think it's weirder that there were adults doing
adults
it. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. You're not weird for being a weird 14-year-old.
Yeah.
You are weird
for being a weird adult.
A weird 30-year-old
who's leading the culture of
creating content.
Teens.
And I guess I say that as a person who does youth conferences and stuff and
You should start wearing those belts.
I'm having an existential crisis
Start
as I'm doing this
belts.
episode right now. But you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know
like
exactly
the
what you're
Never
talking
Shout
about.
Never guy, Christopher Drew, was, at least he was like
Robin.
Hey, at least he was like 19 doing it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. This is an interesting point.
Anyway, so that's what was on Tumblr. Was there was some?
Yeah, they were huge fandoms.
Yes,
and for some reason that I've never quite understood. Well, I mean, I guess it does make a little bit of sense. But if you like something like a lot, it gets really weird. Maybe it's that obsession factor.
Unless you're like one of our Patreon supporters, that's totally normal.
That's the most
That
normal
is
thing.
so normal. That's the most normal thing you could do.
But it is kind of strange that loving something so much makes you weird. You have to like something just the appropriate amount to not be weird.
Yeah.
But once you start being like, oh yeah, I love this. I love this a lot. I love this so much that I dress up like it, and I've got tattoos of this thing, and I post about it on this obscure website with no vowels.
Okay.
Then people are like, that's weird of you.
That is odd.
That's weird that you like this a lot.
Sure.
I don't know. Anyways, so a bunch of people would retreat to this place.
Yeah,
because,
they make it their personality.
Yeah, and because of that factor, it did attract a lot of people who didn't have a ton of friends in real life, but they had these relationships in the Tumblr verse.
Do you think there's a link between Tumblr people and like conspiracy people? This is kind of a real wonder. Because like that obsession factor, that part of you that's just like the desire for online community, that's what drives things like QAnon.
Yeah, it could have been.
Anyway.
But anyway, so that's the stage of what Tumblr looked like in that era. A little different than it does now. And there was a community in there that was so excited and invested in the Tumblr community that they would always talk about like two like trending things on Tumblr all the time, pretty much, were Tumblr University and Tumblr Island, which were these mythical experiences where all these Tumblr kids could come together and go to school together in their own university or live on an island together and just exist together with all their Tumblr friends.
Yeah. They had virtual versions of it.
Club Penguin.
I was going to say Toontown. So we had the same thought on that. That was good. I like that. That was good.
So everybody just kind of dreamed about it and would post about it and be like, sure, we'll do this on Tumblr Island. Whatever.
Yeah.
But it was like, this is never going to happen. Until one 15-year-old girl was like, I'm going to make it happen. And so she started like putting all these plans together
on Facebook Marketplace for islands. You know,
she started kind of dreaming. She's like, okay, we probably couldn't put together a university, can't afford an island, but a conference that seems easy and doable.
A 15-year-old girl's planning this.
Yeah, and
and she's out here like, okay. So, because they all have the hair over their one eye.
Yeah.
Like they're freaking like emo pirates.
Yeah, she wipes it and like her hand's pink after moving her hair aside.
How many of these girls did you have crushes on?
Oh, all of them. When I was in high school,
if one of these girls,
was my type.
Would you? Let me ask you this way: if one of these girls were to paint an elephant on a sweater, would you? Would you wear that?
Would you buy that and then excitedly unwrap it and notice the card and it says Tim Norris?
Is that real?
Yes.
I'm sorry that happened to you. That sucks.
And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I guess this is...
For people who don't know, Tim had this big crush on the weird scene girl that came to college dressed like that. I think she leveled out. She became normal.
Yeah.
But...
yeah, but I was too nervous to talk to her. I never talked to her. I bought the sweater.
A conversation.
I was too nervous to talk to her. Bought the sweater.
She did these sweaters where she painted an elephant for her fundraiser for her trip to Africa.
Yeah.
And he bought one and was like, she's going to notice that I bought it.
Yeah, and then we're gonna. Well, it was more just an in. It was like, this gives me a chance to talk to her about something.
And then he wore it every day.
And then I really, honestly do like it.
He wore it the way that I wear my like Hope hoodie that I've got. I wear it too much.
I honestly like. It's cool. It's a cool sweatshirt.
Yeah.
It was that moment when I unwrapped it and saw the wrong name on the card. I was like, oh, this isn't gonna happen. But the sweatshirt was cool, so I wore it a lot. I liked it.
I'm happy for you.
Anyway,
so she was 15. She's like, all right,
15. She's like, we're going to make this happen. And so she starts putting all these plans together. And for some reason...
What year is this now?
Like 2013, I believe.
Okay.
For some reason, and I don't understand why. Actually, I can't understand why. It's Tumblr. All of her plans attract the attention of 3 grown adults by the name of Meg, with 2 G's.
Obviously.
Roxanne, and a guy...
She goes by Roxy.
A guy that goes by Kane, but his name is Locain, and it's spelled Lochian. And he, for a while, was trying to convince everyone his birth name was Loki. Yeah.
Tumblr.
I think you have an idea of how this is going to go.
He's a Tumblr guy.
And so she attracts the attention of these adults, and these adults are like, great idea. We're going to help make this possible because you're 15.
And so we're adults.
Yeah.
What kind of?
Well, here's the thing. Meg and Kane were 30.
Yes.
Roxanne was 19.
Yeah. I mean, still technically.
For some reason, Roxanne was friends with Meg and Kane.
Because Tumblr adults had weird boundaries.
Yeah, true. And so they reached out and they were like, hey, you want to be the admin we'll put this together as like an actual company and build this Tumblr conference.
Okay.
So they called it TumbleCon. And Tumblr was like, you can't call it that. And then they were like, we'll call it DashCon and name it after the dashboard. Because that's what they called it. It'd be like calling it your timeline con or feed con or something like that, because that was what they called it, the dashboard.
Feed con.
FeedCon.
And then you end up with like a bunch of farmers who show up and they're like, well, what the
Where's all
frick
the
is
grain?
this?
I'm looking for grain.
There's just a guy who's got a sack of grain. He's like, well, where am I supposed to set up my grain
I'm
booth?
trying to sell this grain.
I got 6 trailers outside. I got a grain train in the parking lot.
You need to get this somehow into your brain. I'm trying to sell grain for my train.
Well, what am I going to do? I got a big online following that bought tickets to the Wheat and Greet. I was trying to get that joke out in the middle of your sip.
You did it. That's a good one. Wheat and Greet. So Kane and Roxanne and Meg, they go and they organize as an actual company, an LLP, not an LLC. But they say, okay, we're going to build this conference. They start an Indiegogo to fundraise for it, where they raise $6,000 to kind of get the ball rolling. Not a whole lot
for a convention.
Yeah, not even close to enough. But they did say that wasn't going to, that was just going to get the ball rolling, help them build the website, start selling tickets and things like that. And get in the door at a hotel.
Sure.
And they reached their goal. Tumblr was hyped about it.
What?
They got all these reblogs.
Where were they trying to do it? Chicago, right?
Yeah, Chicago.
Was it Hampton Inn? Like where?
No, it was this
like a convention center?
Yeah, it was an actual hotel, and it's like a hotel and convention center. They're
like
Renaissance.
How many do they hope were going to show up to this thing?
Well, based on the engagement on Tumblr, they expected to have around 7,000 people show up.
Yeah, but
because that was how many people. Like there was a lot of people.
80% of those people are under 16.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. So I know where the story goes then.
Yeah,
great.
So they expected around. They expected
all these
anywhere
moms
from 3
like,
to
you're gonna
7,000.
go hang out with Loki in Chicago. And freaking Holly XX is like, well, she added that, you know what I'm saying? And you're like, do you go by Holix? What is this?
Yeah, what is it? What am I supposed to call you now? So they put together this website. They started selling tickets. It was $65 for the weekend.
That's really cheap.
Yeah. $65 for the weekend. You could pay an additional $20 to get access to this concert. Or you could pay just $20 to just go to the concert. But that did not include your lodging.
What concert was it?
It was Steam Powered Giraffe. Have you ever heard of them?
Nope.
They're apparently
you could have made that up and looked me straight in the face and said Steam Powered Giraffe.
It sounds like I made it up.
That's what I was thinking. I thought I was gonna be like, you ever heard of them? Oh, it's because I made it up, which would have been funny.
It was Backstreet Boys.
Steam Powered Giraffe.
I was kind of impressed when I looked it up. They're decently large. They have 250,000 monthly listeners,
Great.
and like 20 million listens on all their songs on Spotify. I checked them out. So they seem like, I listened to a bunch of the tracks on the way here. Not my cup of tea. Is it
like pop punk with?
No, not even close.
Oh, but I was gonna say like with like a techno element in it, like
not even close.
Okay.
It's kind of like it feels like you're listening.
Can we play 5 seconds without getting in trouble? Alex's eyes got so big on that. Like you looked like I asked if we can get away with murder for a second.
Here's the thing: playing 5 seconds of a song does not give you a good picture on these guys, because it felt like I was listening to I listened to one of their albums, and it felt like I was listening to the soundtrack of a musical, because every track was a totally different style.
All right, I'll check it out.
But they were all kind of like
Steamboat
older.
Willie. Is what it's called?
Yeah, they were all like that kind of stuff though. It was like saloon music, or like Wild West, or like ragtime. Like it was all like over the place, but all like older, like Elvis rock, older styles.
Okay.
And like it all told a story of this Steam Powered Giraffe.
Who did the original? When I say the original TikTok song, do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Like when TikTok was Musical.ly, and there was all these weird kids on that app doing the ladies. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
What the crap was that?
Yeah, I've got no idea.
Okay.
I don't think it was them because I would expect that would be their number one song. And I listened to their number one song. Their number one song was actually kind of good. Like the rest of their stuff, not a fan.
It's our theme song now.
Their number one song was kind of like an acoustic, like indie rock song. And it was actually kind of good. The rest of it, I wasn't a fan of. But
Steam-powered giraffe.
All right,
I'll look it up.
But yeah, so
they were going to headline this concert.
They were going to headline the concert, and they were a big selling factor of the conference. Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. If you liked it, it would really help us out if you leave a review or a comment on YouTube, if that's what you're watching on. And if you want to check out another episode, I recommend Julianne Kopke. That was an episode all about a woman who survived a 10,000-foot fall from a plane without a parachute. Landed in the Amazon. Absolutely bonkers story. And it was pretty fun. We had a lot of fun, Jared and I, in that episode. So you should check it out. It's one of my favorites right now. But thanks so much for being here. They had a few things scheduled for this that were actually like, hey, you guys did a pretty good job like booking this. Like this is someone interesting. Like the Steam-powered giraffe, that was a pretty big band to bring in for your first year.
Yeah, how'd they pay the deposit?
They also
all right.
They also had Doug Jones, who was one of the Doctor Who's.
It's Alex's brother.
They're like, hey, we couldn't get Alex Jones.
My brother Doug is out here going to these frou-frou conventions.
No, Doug Jones, he was one of the doctors on Doctor Who.
Oh, wow.
Which is a pretty big name. They also had the podcast Welcome to Night Vale, which I don't know if you've heard of that. They were one of the biggest podcasts in very early podcasts.
Man, I hope we get booked for a weird convention.
Oh, we'll 100% do that. If you're putting together a weird convention that you think is going to collapse, call us. We want to be a part of it.
TILLN Live. We do podcast conventions, ministry conventions, reptile conventions.
Show us your reptiles.
Did I tell you about that? So my agency also reps a BMX group that, when they go to churches and they ramp over cars and they do all this stuff. And at the end, they're like, you could do this with the Lord or whatever.
You could do this.
They're actually really good guys. I love them all.
Yeah.
But we're at this convention and apparently next door there was a reptile convention happening. And one of those BMX guys went next door and bought an alligator. Wow. And then it was just sitting underneath our table in a tub, but like not an alligator tub, like in a clear, just bought from Walmart, tub.
Wow.
And there's just an alligator underneath our convention table. And they drove 8 hours to get to that convention, which means they had to drive 8 hours back. What if you were in a van with a group of friends going to a convention and then someone at that convention buys an alligator and then you now have to drive 8 hours back with an alligator. And it's like, hey man, I'm going to run inside of the bathroom at this gas station. Will you walk my gator?
Yeah, can you keep an eye on my gator? Like, can you imagine a guy at the pump just be like, hey, can you watch my gator while I'm in the bathroom for me? If he gets a little antsy.
Sure. Anyway.
Yeah. So
they built a real convention is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. The podcast Welcome to Night Vale was early podcast. It was actually ranked 1 on Apple Podcasts for a little while.
It was the only one.
In like 2013, 2014. It's still active today. There's actually a TV series being like made in honor of it. The show was here. Let me show you. I actually pulled this down for you. You've probably recognized the logo.
Oh yeah.
I've seen this around. They were pretty big. They at that time they were pulling about 500,000 downloads a month. So a pretty big podcast. And then they had this other podcast, the Baker Street Babes, which was a podcast about the street that they lived on.
Okay.
No, Sherlock Holmes. And then they had like all these like comic book authors and like book authors and artists. They had like this. They were going to have this whole vendor section where you could get art from. You could do art if you wanted.
Sure.
And so like they had all these different panels that they put together that were honestly the type of stuff that people were talking about having happen at Tumblr University. And so it was kind of clever. Like they did their research. They were like, what do the people want? And then they made panels about that stuff. And so they kind of went back through all that stuff and did that. And so they expected that this was going to go pretty well. They had some pretty decent name people. They had a great venue for this. And then they went and they got a bunch of volunteers. They had their team of 3. They had an admin. They hired a couple people for like staff. And then they had on their website a volunteer page where you could volunteer and get perks for volunteering. And the request on the website said if you volunteer for 1 to 11 hours, you receive our undying gratitude. So red flag number 1.
Yeah.
Volunteer for 12 to 19 hours.
That's what's on all church websites too. If you volunteer for 1 to 11 years, you get our undying gratitude and some free shirts along the way. Actually not. Discounted shirts along the way.
Discounted shirts. 5% off.
They really aren't that. They don't give you a margin on it.
If you're 12 to 19, you receive a refund for your badge cost, which is like your ticket. 20 plus hours, you receive the refund for your badge and your hotel room.
Oh, wow.
Will be comped for Friday and Saturday night. So it's just a weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday was the event. So it was a pretty good deal to volunteer this thing. And a bunch of kids who were like, oh, my parents, they're not going to buy my ticket, but I can go volunteer for this event. If I volunteer 20 hours, I can go for free. So a bunch of kids volunteered.
Sure.
Is what happened.
Yeah. I've been to a wedding like this where the groom was like, I bet I can get a bunch of middle schoolers to do all this stuff for me, you know? It's like, are you going to like hire a catering company? No, I'm a youth pastor. I'm just going to have a bunch of middle schoolers hand out food at my wedding.
Yeah, I'll just have them make sandwiches.
That's going to go well.
Yeah, there's a kid in my youth group who knows how to make spaghetti. I'll just have him cook.
He says he knows how to make really good spaghetti. I make great spaghetti.
Everybody just gets these
kids
uncooked
lie,
noodles.
Dude. Kids lie.
Like he cooks the noodles halfway. They're still kind of crunchy.
Here that's the day of, and he's just going table to table, and dry spaghetti.
He forgets the sauce.
He's like, oh, shoot.
I forgot the sauce. Oh, we got ketchup in the venue.
He's like, well, my mom says that I can come to your wedding, but I can't pay to come to your wedding.
Yeah, but she said I can't bring.
But I'll volunteer.
She said I can't bring 7 gallons of pasta sauce.
You got a kid that is DJing the wedding. You got a little child DJ over there. He's playing the Kids Bop version of everything. I want to have a Kids Bop wedding. Do you think they'd sponsor it?
I mean,
bro, what if my wedding, if I had like Celsius, I get them as a sponsor?
I hate you because this is literally my idea.
What, to get Celsius to sponsor my wedding?
Not Celsius, but I told you this at my wedding. Bree shot it down so hard.
What, to try to get Bang energy drinks to sponsor you? No,
I was going to get sponsors for my wedding. I was going to, literally, I was like, I'll get sponsors, and I'll have like tile sponsors. They could get big chest. Yeah. Like, we'll sew it on my suits.
No,
and like all my
I want you to know
can
that
have the logos on the arms.
I got an email from a streaming company that was like, sell tickets to your wedding. Like and I emailed back and I said, this is the grossest thing I've ever seen in my life. Who would do this? Sell live stream tickets to my wedding?
I mean, the Queen.
The Queen? All right.
So here's the thing about DashCon, and
we're recording this before she dies.
This was recorded. We had no idea.
Alex wrote it down. I was waiting in the corner of my eye. I was like, he's gonna write it down.
Our lawyer told us to say we have nothing to do with it. It hasn't happened.
Please help me find the death threats I sent to her, though. Oh, no.
I just sent her like 200 emails that say, "Do you miss Diana?"
Would you email the queen at gmail.com? No, she can't get it. I got that. My email is Queen Elizabeth
Queen.
at gmail.com.
Queen Elizabeth, the Queen.
Queen Lizzie. This is terrible.
So the thing about DashCon and the people who were running DashCon,
right,
is they had literally zero experience in
How
this.
many
They've never
volunteers signed
run a
up? If you're
conference.
saying like a bunch of kids signed up, how many volunteers did they have sign up?
I don't know an exact number. I would estimate a couple dozen just based on the stories.
Okay.
But yeah, these people, they had no experience running conferences.
Sure.
The experience we do know that they had, well, I shouldn't say do know. The experience that is rumored that they had is Roxanne just graduated from high school. That's her experience. Meg and Kane had been working like minimum wage jobs. Meg actually applied for bankruptcy like 3 years before this.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of probably good experience with handling major events like this. So the deal that they had arranged with everybody was payment after the event.
Yeah.
And
I know how that goes.
and so because they genuinely anticipated, based on internet,
7,000 people.
yeah, they
At
anticipated
$65 a ticket.
Yeah, so I mean, it was.
You know, they're looking at $300,000 or $400,000.
Yeah. And what they arranged with the hotel was like, no, we're not going to do that. But what they got a verbal agreement with the hotel to do a basically like a payment every hour as the conference went on. So that way, as more people were checking in, they'd have more cash to give the hotel. And part of the deal with the hotel was, hey, we're bringing in 7,000 guests, so we're basically filling your hotel for the weekend. And so, is there a way we could offer everyone a discount on the rooms? And the hotel was like, sure.
Yeah. Block rate, yeah.
Yeah. And so all these arrangements were made. The conference begins, and day one, everyone shows up at like 5 o'clock in the evening on Friday. The first events were supposed to happen that night. And everyone just kind of stood around for a few hours.
Who's everyone? How many people showed up?
Oh, about 500.
Okay. Which, not terrible.
Not terrible. But when you're expecting 7,000.
Yeah. Everyone just kind of stood around? Uh-oh.
Yeah, because there wasn't a thing to do.
This is a lot like I did an event like this in 2017.
Yeah.
Where I booked it. It was a winter conference, 3-day winter conference.
Yeah.
He booked Lecrae and for King and Country.
Yeah.
So he was going to do an arena.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so all these youth groups started buying tickets, and then it ended up being, it was in San Antonio at the weirdest hotel I've ever been to in my entire life, in their weird conference room. A conference room with a low ceiling, right? Obviously, Lecrae and For King and Country had backed out at this point.
Yeah.
And there ended up being 350 people there. And there was me, there was Brock Gill, who was a Christian illusionist who was pretty big in 2007, and then Bean and Bailey, who is like cheesy dad comedians who are pretty decent for adult crowds, horrible for youth audiences. And then the speaker didn't get paid, I don't think. He spoke the whole sessions. And then they had a weird Holt International guy who came out and was like, sponsor kids, but it's like youth groups.
Yeah.
And so these kids were expecting Lecrae and For King and Country.
Yeah.
Food was terrible. It really was the Holy Fire Fest.
The Holy Fire Fest.
It was terrible.
That is really rough. You hate to see it.
I don't think I got paid for that. Oh, I did get paid for that, but I got paid 2/3 of what I was supposed to get paid.
The rate
and he was like, hey, I'll pay you this amount, which was not a lot.
Yeah.
And then the night after the second day, he was like, hey, can I give you this now and I'll give you this later? And I don't think I ever got the thing later. I don't know what that guy's doing now, but
Probably not that.
Yeah.
So kind of a similar situation. They at least were in the same venue they planned.
Okay.
But
500 of the 7,000 show up.
500 of the 7,000 show up. They didn't have a plan for what they were going to do in the beginning of this event until like 8:00. So everyone's just kind of here. And they're just like, what do we do now? And just kind of like hanging around this conference room. And so people are sitting in there for hours. Meanwhile, one of the managers of the hotel, one of the managers of the hotel,
was like, hey.
bank manager was there.
The hotel manager was like, there's not 7,000 people here.
Well, the hotel manager pulls aside their admin, who was this now 16-year-old girl, who, by the way, this is a really weird side to this story. No, she's 17 at this point. She actually graduated early because she was able to claim credits for her work on DashCon as like job experience type stuff.
That's interesting,
which
though.
Apparently you can do.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was an option. So she graduated early for this, which in retrospect,
and then they made her go back. They were like, actually, you failed that course.
Yeah, that was
you know? We see what you did, and like, that was really bad.
Yeah, you did not pass. So the manager of this hotel, of this convention center,
pulls her aside.
Pulls the 17-year-old admin aside.
This poor high schooler.
And says, hey, you guys owe us $17,000. And she's like, what? And he's like, you guys owe us $17,000. The contract was you pay $17,000 up front. So that way you can get this block rate and use the convention center, the room that you're using. And then
she goes,
I
have $150.
She goes, I have $13 and a Big Mac. Well, she says, I thought they arranged with you to do like this payment terms. And he was like, no, they didn't. He was like, look at the contract. Like, you owe $17,000 up front. And so then she breaks down.
Yeah, obviously.
And they're like, you have until 10 p.m. tonight to come up with the money, or
no one can stay here.
We're kicking everybody out. And people have traveled for this. There are people who came from Australia for this.
No
which
way.
Is absurd. And so she goes back to the team.
Oh, no.
And they say, well, hey.
They go, figure it out.
Yeah, they tell her, hey, figure out $17,000. So her and Roxanne, the 17-year-old and the 19-year-old.
They're like, okay, guys, listen. We need a lot of money from all of you.
They said they put a thing up on the website and on Tumblr, and they posted it. And basically they said, hey, the hotel decided they don't like us. They want to kick us out unless we give them $17,000.
The hotel decided they don't. What did it actually say?
That's exactly what they said.
No, it did not.
That's not word for word, but the premise was
they don't like us.
We've been informed by the hotel that they don't like our crowd and they want us to go, or unless we give them $17,000. So they put this donate button up on the website.
Guys, I showed up here and they were like, we don't like you. All right. Here's the thing. I booked this hotel room. I showed up, didn't pay for it yet. Right. And when they were like, do you have a card for incidentals? I was like, why don't you like me? And they were like, well, you got to pay for the room. You don't like me? I'm going to blast you on the internet. I'm like, can you believe that this hotel doesn't like me?
Was like, you
they don't like Christians. This is persecution, okay? And I'm going to put a donate on my website.
To end you. You should see the Yelp review. I'm going to leave.
Wow. You don't like me? I don't like you either. What? They don't like our crowd.
So Tumblr, because there was a bunch of kids who wanted to go to this.
Here's the premise. They don't like our crowd, and they're charging us a $17,000 inconvenience fee for having to put up with these weird kids. Which also, to be fair, it makes sense.
Fair. I would charge that too.
Yeah, they do suck. I agree with this.
So they put the post up on Tumblr, and there's all these people who wanted to go, but didn't. And they're like, oh no, the hotel doesn't like our friends at DashCon.
Roar.
And so we'll donated.
Show them.
So they donated, and then they gathered everybody in the main conference hall. And this teenager
empty your pockets
goes up on stage to say, hey, so we've just been informed that unless we can raise $17,000 to give to the hotel, they're going to kick us out because they don't like any of us. And some adults in the crowd were like, that's extortion. They can't do that. And she was like, I have this paper bag.
Well, that's extortion. They can't do that. And you're like, where are you from? Like, I traveled to be here. Like, you sound
I'm from
like
Australia, actually.
Dude, no. Tumblr adults would 100% pretend to be from somewhere.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. Yeah, they're from just like 4 minutes away.
Well, they can't do that. You're like, what are you...
Hey, thank you again for listening to this episode. Making sure that you don't miss one in the future, go ahead and subscribe to this podcast, whether that be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. You'll get an alert when we drop a new episode. And if you want more, if you want something a week early, you want to be part of our Discord, more access to us as creators, you can support this show on Patreon. It helps us go a long way. Nothing that we're doing is possible without our Patreon supporters. If you want more information about that, please text TILLN to 66866. Thank you so much for being here.
Dude, that's you 100% knew a kid in your high school who thought their accent was so good.
Yeah, like they thought.
They're like, I go places and people ask me where I'm from.
They're like, oh,
I talk to servers like this. Golly, dude, I'm so afraid of having a weird kid like that. They're like, we go out to dinner and I'm like, yeah, well, you know, we just want this and this and then whatever. And Reagan orders her stuff. And then our kid is just like, oh, had the chicken strips. Then they look at us and we're like, yep, that's our foreign exchange student who is,
He's from, I don't know,
definitely
Antarctica.
Looks just like us, but, you know, we wanted it that way. We get to choose. Here's a picture of me. Find a kid in your country. He didn't even sign up for the program.
Find a kid in your country that looks like me.
You're gonna ruin my. You're gonna ruin my
foreign exchange
listen,
program.
I'll take a foreign exchange student, but I'm not gonna ruin my Christmas pictures over it. All right.
They're walking around the mall with a Polaroid of you, like looking at kids, and they're like, "Hey, you want to make $7.57?"
You're gonna make $7.57. All right then. Stupid. So the adults are like, well, hold on.
Yeah, they're like, this is extortion.
They can't do that. And she's like, I'm missing prom for this, you know, or whatever her 17-year-old self says.
But the crowd bands together and they all start donating.
Oh my gosh. I'd be so annoyed.
And Kane comes out.
What, do they pass buckets around?
He takes the bag. It was literally a paper bag. He takes the bag and he looks in the bag and he says, we did it. We beat him. And like the crowd just erupts. Everybody's cheering. Like they start singing, "We Are the Champions." Honestly, the vibe in this room during this whole event. I need to show you a picture. This is probably my favorite part of this whole conference. Someone in solidarity, before they figured out that they were going to raise enough money to fight back against
the mean hotel manager. Dude, hey, hold on, wait, hold on. Can I do a real quick thing?
Yeah.
Bank of America says I owe $13,000 on my Honda Civic. And I think they don't like me.
They just don't like me.
And can you believe that?
It's absurd.
Would you please donate? We can do this. We can fight back against the man.
Yeah, you can't let them belittle you.
You can't is it extortion? I don't know. But listen. Bank of America's bullying me right now
into paying back the money I owe them.
They're like, oh, you agreed to pay it. And I'm like, well, I thought Joey B was going to do that, you know? And so...
I elected a president that would make me not pay for anything.
And here we are. Bank of America still being jerks about it.
Yeah. So donate now. Donate today. Donate now. We'll send you holy water. Donate now.
This is the K-Love Pledge Drive. And the pledge goes to paying off my vehicle.
So in this room, I don't know who does it, who starts this, but someone in solidarity to the moment and to fight back against the man in the situation
sets themselves on fire.
This is absurd.
Yeah, I'll show that Holiday Inn manager. Jeez.
They're like counting the money. He's just laying in the aisle burning.
That guy's dead. That guy. 499 rooms, please.
No, someone does the Hunger Games thing, and everybody joins, and you just have this whole conference room full of kids doing the Hunger Games little whistle with the 3
are
fingers.
Tumblr kids. Look at that blue dress there. You know what I'm talking about? Like the Tumblr kid. Look at the boots on the girl next to her.
Yeah. So they all do the little.
What? Like they get on stage, they're like, we got to get $17,000 to pay off our debts. And someone goes,
exactly.
and the guy's up there, like, he's got his paper bag, and he's like, that's great, but we still need $17,000.
$17,000.
And they go,
and so I watched a story or a video from the admin girl, and she said that.
do you have a picture of the admin girl? Does she look like what I think she looks like?
Probably.
Yeah.
And so she said that Kane, when he got that bag, he didn't count it. He just said, we did it. We beat them. And then she said after the fact, she counted that, and she said they brought in about $3,000. And she said the website brought in maybe $1,500. And so it wasn't even close. And so what she thinks happened is later that night, everybody went back to their rooms and was locked out of their rooms. And so what they did is they negotiated with the hotel and said, okay, get rid of the block rate. All of the rooms that we comped for all of our panel speakers, all of our volunteers, all of our talent, all of our vendors, get rid of the comp, make them pay for the room. But they didn't notify them. And so all these people had a room with all their stuff in it, and they got locked out because the
hotel
turned off
down.
their key cards because the managers were like, hey, here's $3,000. How do we make up the other 14?
And he didn't even count. He hands a bag of crumpled up dollar
He's
bills.
like, this should be enough.
Yeah. Take that, Brian. Boring name, Brian.
Yeah, you should have known too, because one of them said that when they had that bag of $3,000, they're like, this is more money than I've ever handled in my life. And it's like, oh yeah, they are not qualified to run this conference. And so they gave that $3,000, shut down everybody's room. And then from this point on, it was just dumpster fire after dumpster fire after dumpster fire of the band dropped out. The band was like, oh yeah, you're never going to pay us. So we're not doing this. Both podcasts
I say
dropped
that,
out.
you know what? Steamboat Orchestra or whatever they were called. You know, they were at least good business people.
Both the podcasts dropped out. And then what happened on Saturday is all the vendors started leaving because they realized, oh, all these guests spent all their money on that donation yesterday to keep this event open. We're not making any money selling anything. And so as the vendors started pulling out, it became this snowball effect because the more vendors that left, the less interest there was in going down where they were selling anything. And so nobody was selling anything. All the artists and all the vendors started pulling out until eventually this conference ended up having like 4 panels the whole event. And the panels that they did have, they had tables that weren't long enough for all the panelists. They forgot to get chairs for some of the panelists. And like just absolute insanity to the point where the last panel, there was like 13 people in the audience.
Like 2 days before the thing, they were like, let's do a podcast table.
Yeah, pretty much. But probably the best part about this story is after that big podcast canceled. What were they called? The Welcome to Night Vale.
Yeah.
That was like kind of the big pull.
Draw.
Everybody wanted to see them. So they came in at the panel room where that was supposed to happen. They're waiting for an hour and a half. Nobody shows up until eventually the organizers come out and they say, hey.
And they go, guys, the podcast host decided they don't like us. And it's probably because you're weird.
Yeah.
And it's definitely your fault. And you should probably go home and think about what you've done.
What you've done. And they said that we owe them $17,000 too. So if you could
dig deep in your pockets.
Dig deep. That's just the amount of 2 lattes for each of you. So if you buy 2 lattes a week, you owe us $17,000.
Yeah.
So no, the lady comes out. This was Roxanne. At this point, there was some internal strife between Roxanne and Kane and Meg because Kane and Meg had done basically.
You think they weren't in solidarity? Like they just hold hands and they go, "We have to weather the storm.
This is gonna work."
Yeah, clearly.
Kane and Meg had done basically nothing for this event. Roxanne, like months before, was like, "Okay, these people aren't doing anything," so she kind of just stepped at the plate and tried to pull it off. But she's 19; she doesn't know what she's doing.
Yeah, and the other girl's 12.
Yeah, and so. And it got so bad to where Kane and Meg, and this is kind of a rabbit trail, but this is funny. Kane and Meg, they before the event, they planned on paying for everything after the event, after everybody paid them, which is never going to work. And so what they did is they went and they got a lawyer, and the lawyer dropped them because he's like, "You're not paying me." And so then they went and
he goes, wait, you're trying to get out of paying other people? Okay. I hear what you're trying to do. And for that reason, I'm out. Okay.
Yeah, so the lawyer dropped them. And so what they did is they for things, their privacy policy on their website is an exact copy of League of Legends privacy policy.
What?
It's a word for word.
Does it say League of Legends in it?
Pasted it.
What?
And so stuff like that is happening. And so the day of the event, the day it was supposed to start, the day it was supposed to start, Meg and Kane show up to the event with a document, and they start pressuring Roxanne to sign it. And what it was this poorly worded legal agreement that pushed her out of the company and made her the secretary. And she was like, "I'm not going to sign that." And they got real mad that she wouldn't sign it. Because they were like, "Don't read it, just sign it. Like, this is just something we need."
No, sign it.
Just sign
she
it.
goes, "No, that's going to put it all on me, right?"
Well, no, they were trying to kick her out of it so she couldn't get any of the money because she was a part owner. Kane actually wasn't an owner. It was Megan and Roxanne at first. Kane was Meg's boyfriend. And so they tried to push her out and have Kane take her spot as an owner.
Okay.
And she was like, "No." And so then they were super distant. They weren't involved in much until the money was happening. And then they would show up when the money was happening and they'd disappear again.
Sure.
And so Roxanne comes out to this crowd that's expecting to watch the Welcome to Night Vale live session or whatever.
With 2 hand puppets.
And she's like, "Hey, kids."
Hey, man. What's up? Oh, nothing much. Can we get puppets of us?
Is this an alien
How
episode?
much does it cost to get puppets?
Of yourself? Probably a decent bit. Like, to get puppets, not much, but to get puppets of yourself. There is a place in town that does that. I've looked into it.
Shut up. No, wait. Because the way you ended that sentence was, there is a place in town that does it. I've looked into it. Okay.
So
Why?
Roxanne...
No. So Roxanne and Meg and why did you look into it?
I was a kid's
Was
pastor.
it for you and Bree?
No, I was a kid's pastor.
Do you guys do that in counseling? You guys have puppets that look
he was
like you?
like, what if you guys spoke to each other with puppets instead
Let
of
the
yourself?
puppets speak for you. I feel
He has a life-size puppet, my counselor of himself.
he's a puppet.
He just...
Your counselor is Bree.
He's laying down in the couch and he's like retrofitting his couch and he reaches up in this puppet so we can't see him, but his feet hang out the bottom
this is
of the
what
couch.
connects with people. And he's like,
but he noticed that people can't really hear him well, so he cut a mouth hole out of the couch and so you just see his mouth.
wait, hold on. So you
the
see his
puppet's
mouth.
feet.
So I hit my mouth really hard with the mic just now. I'm not bleeding. We're fine. So you're saying that he cut a hole where his mouth is.
Yeah.
So you can see his mouth moving.
In the couch, but it's like by the puppet's feet.
I understand that he's in the chair. Yeah. I understand that he has built a custom puppet.
It's a puppet couch.
A puppet couch.
That's great.
So what did you want the puppets to look like at your church?
Well, no, I was going to get just puppets in general for an event. And then I was like, I like toured the facility and they're like, yeah, we can do custom stuff. And I was like, I need to file that away.
You do need to file that away. We need to go.
I know exactly where it is.
Let's go talk to him.
So
there's a puppeteer on Patreon.
Pay for our puppets.
A puppeteer?
Yeah, I got it.
That was good.
It was good. It was clever. I laughed. Okay, so Roxanne, she comes out and she was like, where are you going? What are you saying? If you're listening, Jaron just crawled under the table and stuck his hand up to the mic. Can you say something?
Yeah.
Such a dumb bit. Yeah, pull the mic down.
So anyway.
All right, so Roxanne.
So she walks out to
walks
this crowd of people.
Who's been waiting for like an hour and a half for this thing
An
to start.
hour.
Yeah. And she comes out and she says, so I'm sorry to tell you guys this, but Night Vale just dropped. And she said, I know it's really sad. She said, I've been sighing backstage a lot about this.
You say sighing?
Yes.
What?
So she's
sighing?
So
I've been backstage sighing. Guys, I've done all I can. I've walked around back there just... It's just a really funny bit, dude.
I thought you were going to finish the episode down there. So she says, I think it would be appropriate if we all just sighed together to get it out. And so she said, on three. 1, 2,
This is a joke.
3. No, this is 100% serious. She says, 1, 2, 3. And most of the crowd joins her and they're all just like, ah. And one guy is like, I want my money back. This room full of people just sighing.
This isn't a joke, though.
No, this is 100%.
She went out there and was like,
I've been sighing
hey guys,
backstage.
Isn't this suck? Let's take a moment and just
sigh.
And they all went.
I can't do the whistle. I was going to do it with you. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So then she says, to make it up to you, because I know this is a pretty big inconvenience.
We're gonna give you 10% of your hotel room.
She said, we're gonna give you, I think they did say like a 5% refund for the value of whatever this part of the event was gonna be, and an extra hour in the ball pit, which is a part of this event I haven't told you about yet. One of the biggest dreams for this event from the very beginning, this admin who was 15 dreamed about a giant ball pit, like a giant conference hall sized ball pit. And it was one of the main attractions. Everyone was so excited for the ball pit. Well, day of the event rolls around.
I'm not making any noise because my jaw is on the floor right now.
Day of the event, the company that they rented this giant ball pit
thing I've ever heard in my
from
life.
showed up. And they're like, all right, we got this ball pit.
Like, are you going to pay us?
And they were like, yeah, we'll pay you after. And they're like, no, you got to pay us before. And they're like, well, we'll pay you after. And they're like, well, if you're going to pay us after, we've got a different ball pit for you. And so this was the ball pit for this event.
Oh my gosh! For those listening, it looks like a life raft. Like it's in a gigantic room.
It was so bad that the event actually went and they rented another bounce house to put in the room.
There are kids in the ball pit still. That's what's amazing to me.
Yeah, they still used it.
Yeah, and she's wearing a tiara. What is going on with this picture?
The thing about this is
that Haley Williams?
the thing about this is there wasn't a time limit on the ball pit. She said an extra hour.
Look at someone photoshopped the dude
No,
in
they put
the...
It's a cardboard cutout that they put in there.
Shut up.
Yeah, that's a cardboard cutout they put up in there.
No, it's not.
Yeah, that is. That's a cardboard cutout.
No, it is not.
Yes, it is. It 100% is a cardboard cutout they put up in there. And so, and the thing is, there wasn't a time limit on the ball pit.
That kid's wearing cat ears. That makes sense.
It wasn't like you had to go like rent time and you got an hour in it. Like she said, you have an extra hour. It's like, well, yeah, it is.
What do you mean we have an extra hour?
Yeah, we have unlimited hours in there until you guys take it away. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, but it looks like, and this is not a joke, it's like the size of my inflatable hot tub.
It really is. Isn't that amazing? And so the event ends. They had like 4 or 5 different panels.
We're all going to sigh in the ball pit later.
If you want to sigh in the ball
Group
pit.
sigh. Which is also what Kansas City we did as a city after the Super Bowl loss. Was Patrick Mahomes came back and was like, guys, that was a big bummer.
We all gathered in Arrowhead and sighed. The loudest sigh in history.
Yeah, the decibels.
The decibels were crazy.
I mean, for a sigh.
I mean, not a lot of decibels, but for a sigh, a lot of decibels.
It sounded like a real strong wind. You know, just like a...
People walking by were like, whoa, that was quite the gust. I heard that gust.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the event ended. Afterwards, Meg had the audacity to put up an article on the website about how none of it was really her fault, but she apologized anyways.
And actually, everyone who came, it turned out, didn't like us.
And she said, and this was on July 18th, she posted this, and she said, if you want a refund, you have until 11:59 on July 20th to claim your refund. In the middle of the event, they did go and change too that there was no refunds for cancellations of talent in the thing. Like
League of Legends is not responsible for.
It's not responsible for. And then rumors after the event say that Meg just went and got another job. Roxanne apparently is pretty successful, which I don't know if that's true.
Doubt it.
Apparently, Loki or Kane, he got arrested for shoplifting at a Walmart.
That makes sense. That tracks.
So yeah, they did promise to do it again the next year, and then that didn't happen. They started
because everyone was like, "No, no, mate, we're not going to come to that." What happened to the 17-year-old girl?
They put together an emoticon that was supposed to happen the next year, and it was the same. It was Meg and Kane together.
What happened to the high school
thing that
girl?
never happened. She just went on with her life. She went to college, got a job.
She went to Trump University and she fell for scheme after scheme after scheme for as long as she's currently an Air Bond salesman.
But yeah,
R-Bond,
so
whatever it is.
Some people say that this was the shift in Tumblr that made everyone bitter because during that whole thing, Tumblr was a part of it and they were just making fun of it like crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
And like memes of that, like 1 extra hour in the ball pit became like a huge meme with the picture and it would say,
do you think that this ruined Gen Z?
It could have. I doubt it, but it could have. It could be a contributing factor that just made it really negative. So
yeah. Would you say this is Gen Z's Pearl Harbor? You know, write it down. It's funny.
Oh my God.
I just wanted to sneak that in there.
Well, Mom, looks like I'm going to war.
That's what I'm saying, though. Is that like Pearl Harbor changed the Greatest Generation? Whatever.
That's hilarious. So yeah, it was a massive disaster. Everything fell apart in the end. Very few people actually got a refund. No one really knows what they did with the money. A bunch of people tried to come after them. I know there was
money. I think they maxed out and paid everyone that they could.
Well, what it does sound like, there is a rumor that to cover some of that cost whenever the hotel was coming after them, that they had all their volunteers max out their credit cards to pay for it. Because these people didn't have credit.
Yikes.
So it is just a disaster all around, but made for some funny content.
But imagine that some of those kids that max out their credit card are like making monthly payments on that still.
Yeah. And they're like, DashCon.
Yeah. It's like freaking, I got a lot of Old Navy points once.
I got some sweet jeans out of DashCon.
What, you got a Spencer's Gifts credit card that you're freaking charging? Well, I don't know where Tumblr kids shop.
Yeah. So, anyways, at the end of the event, they said, "Hey, we need a good way to wrap this up. So, what if we hire a puppeteer, a very talented puppeteer from Kansas City?"
Before we leave, I think we should all I've been backstage sighing a lot. Everyone gets 1 hour in the ball pit and forever allowed to fiddle off.
Hey, thank you so much for watching that episode of Things I Learned Last Night. If you want to watch more episodes, you can do that here, or there's other highlights. Please make sure you subscribe to this channel. We release new episodes every single Tuesday, which means if you didn't like this episode and you're still here somehow, you can go back and watch many of the other ones we've done. And if you want to help us do more of those episodes, please consider joining us on Patreon, where if you're like, I just can't wait for another one, well, Patreon has next week's right now. So you can do all of that at TILLN.com. Please subscribe. Thanks again for watching.